Hi, team. Well, welcome to 10 Talks, another conversation with Joy Williams on our journey to really discovering joy, finding joy as we go through just this re-entry, this new season. We're anchored in competitive greatness. We want to be for each other. We're thinking of well-being. We're thinking about winning. We're thinking about all these new things with the new season. This is week 2 for us on this journey to really building championship teams. So welcome, Joy. Thank you for being with us this week.
Thank you. Thank you, Carlette.
Loved last week where we really talked about what does it take in terms of just what is really important when we build a championship team. You've had the honor of being in so many positions. You were an athlete, you've been a coach, you've been a college coach, a pro coach, and now you're really helping out other coaches as well. And just starting to step into really your legacy, the things that are so important to you, kind of bringing all of your gifts together and giving hope to so many people and really helping people as well. So as you think about the gift that you've been given of being on teams, building teams, let's just talk about some winning strategies when we really think about communication, because I believe that is a fundamental for being great, whether on the court, off the court, in business and in life. And in our work that we do together in sports life coaching, we talk about intentional openness for our communication, really having the courage to speak our truth, be for each other, be brave, be a lot of grace, give people grace, listen at a level that you're listening for people to understand them and to learn from them. So what would you say when you watch your film and think about the journey that you've been on? What are some winning strategies for intentional openness and communication?
Well, intentional openness, I think, I mentioned a little bit last week, really starts with listening, being willing to listen. And I think that's something that's really, really important. I think that's a huge skill, even for coaches that are recruiting athletes. If you're at the college level, you're recruiting athletes. If you're at the high school level and an athlete has a choice to choose your school or somebody else, talking to parents, I think that in the college level, obviously recruiting athletes with scholarships to come to your organization. And then even at the pro level, being able to just listen to people, their concerns or any questions that they have. So intentional openness is really important, and it begins with listening, begins with being, again, I think I mentioned last week, listening in a way that you're not just waiting to talk,
Right.
but really listening for how that person might feel, what their thoughts are, what their ideas are, and listening so that you can learn, part of their story. Because I think as you listen to learn their story, that's going to help you get to know them better and to be in better relationship with that person. So really the art of listening is a huge skill, no matter what level you're on. I know when I was an assistant coach as a recruiter, that was something that I really prided myself on, was really listening closely to what was not being said.
Mm.
And I think that that's so important in everything that we do, because people will say certain things, but there are so many things that they don't say. And we
Mhm.
talk about communication being only 7% words, the words that we say. And there's so much more communication that is body language, that is what we don't say. So really, um, I find myself, and through my experiences, when I listen to someone, really trying to think about what they're not saying.
Mhm.
And as I go back, and what I've done in coaching is, as I teach or communicate with someone, really being interested in what they've heard. So I might say, does that make sense? Or what did you understand me to say, so that we're on the same page, and not just take for granted that they process things or hear things the way that I would.
Well, and a great winning strategy for intentional openness is number one, being very intentional. And so you and I could have the same language and maybe say, yes, coach, I'm committed to winning, or I'm all in, or I really want to do this, whatever language there is. But your level of commitment or your definition of commitment as a coach may be really different if I'm an athlete. So, really being able to have that intention to say, let's get on the same page with every word that we're talking about so that we can be open about how we really feel about it versus just assuming that our definitions are the same or assuming that we really want this. And I really respect what you said about what people don't say and listening to that, watching those actions. Let's talk about when we find out something about someone or a player or a coach that that really bothers us or doesn't align with our values or our vision, what do we do with that information? Because we want to be able to be open and not from a fear-based perspective, right? Open being like, this is who I am. So what I really respect about that intentional openness is that you now know who I really am. And we can have a truthful conversation about, do I fit with your program? Are we in alignment? Rather than us just kind of hoping and wishing this turns out, or that you don't find out something about me, or worse, that I think I can change to fit into your program, because we know how hard change really is. So how have you found that to work and not work for you?
Well, I think the from my experience, the best thing, the winning strategy for me, Carlette, has been to really to address it and just,
Yeah.
like you said, be intentional about finding out what their story is around whatever happened. And so we all have things that we're not super proud of, or mistakes that we've made that we wish we hadn't. But
Mhm.
I think when it comes to communicating and you're trying to build a championship program, championship team, organization, and you find out something, get some intel, if you will, about a player or a member of that organization, I think you have to bring it to the forefront. You know, it's the elephant in the room sometimes. And, you know, really what's been a winning strategy for me is just to say, hey, this is information. And so I'd like to get your side of the
Mhm.
story and figure out what happens. And then just talk about who I am, what our values as an organization are, how they feel about that,
Mhm.
you know, because that particular action might not convey that value. And so,
Right.
and it, again, it could have happened in that person's past a long time ago, but I think when we ignore it and it comes up to show itself again, that's our fault. You know, we can't be upset about that. But I think when we do talk about it, the person, both recipients and both people in the conversation can feel good about the outcome, you know, and be honest. But I think at the end of the day, it gives me a chance to learn more about their story,
Yeah.
about what happened, who they are, and if we're going to be able to be in alignment with the direction of the organization.
And it all comes back to those relationships, because if we're really in relationships, truth and trust are such a fundamental. And if I know you know some information about me and we're not talking about it, I'm not going to trust you, because we've really broken that. And it comes back to just that ability to care about each other, be for each other, and not just be about the performance, but it very much be about, we're in relationship, we're on mission together, we're on purpose together. We've got one season together or 10 seasons together, but we're committed to really making this work for both of us. Total win-win. And love your commitment to just the relationship of a person, really knowing the heart of an athlete, the mind of an athlete, the story of the athlete. So let's talk about really being isolated to inclusion, because so many times when we have miscommunication, if I think a teammate has said something about me, or I'm feeling a certain way, or I'm not feeling like I fit in the team culture, I can start to isolate. And we know that that isolation really pulls us out of the game, and we're not bonding as much with our teammates. We're not as free to be ourselves, because we feel like, maybe somebody doesn't like us, or something's happening from that perspective. And self-talk is powerful. What we feel or what we start to believe in our head is really important. So how do we go from that isolated feeling to really inserting ourselves in a way of inclusion?
I think the best way for that, and everybody sometimes has that feeling no matter what, and I
Yeah.
see that some in transitioning athletes, whether it's college to high school to pro. I'm sorry, college to pro. That you have these certain feelings because you're unsure. You're going into something new. You might be surrounded by people that you don't really know, so that's a feeling of feeling isolated. I don't know them very well. They don't know me very well. So I think the first thing to do that I've tried to help athletes do is to really think about their story, like really just tap into the power of their story, kind of getting comfortable with who they are, what matters to them, and really not letting them make it about anybody else. At that point, it's all about, let's just focus on you and how you feel and feeling good about yourself, focusing on what your strengths are. Because the thing about it is that we don't know anybody else's story. We don't know why some people might say hello to us when they pass by, and some people might look at us like we have 8 heads. So
Yeah.
we don't know their story. We don't know why they do that. So I think really in the winning strategy for me in helping with that is really just to focus in on their power, um, them really feeling confident about who they are, becoming more self-aware, what they like, what they don't like. And so what I found is that when that starts to happen, that athlete or that person starts to feel more sure about themselves. They start to gain a little more confidence. And when they're in those situations where they might think, are they talking about me? They're not concerned with it, because they've kind of learned that that's the power that they're giving away when they do that. And that's really a lot of energy, emotional energy, that they're wasting. So
Yeah.
they feel exhausted
Hmm.
because they're letting somebody else take that power away and take that energy away. So really just focusing in on them as a person, and feeling good about who they are.
What's great about that, Joy, is from an inclusion perspective, we know when we're talking team chemistry, we know that it matters so much that we feel like we belong, and that it's an authentic connection, and it's an authentic feeling, right? I'm not feeling left out. I don't feel like people are saying anything or talking about me. That starts from the coaching staff all the way down to anybody from the outside that's working with the team. I mean, it's a beautiful component of team chemistry. And feeling like we belong is such a winning strategy. It promotes such connectivity and truth and trust, everything that's so important from a relationship perspective. How have you built that in the teams that you've had the honor of being involved in?
Just really them getting to know each other. Started with the recruiting process, and when that person comes around, the person on the outside, if they're a recruit or a guest, just everybody showing genuinely like that they want to know. Because I think that person coming in, everybody in the organization knows that that person that's coming in can help the organization be better. And
Right.
so from a talent standpoint, just building a champion, that you need different pieces. And
Mhm.
so what I found is really to make all of them feel valuable, and that, hey, here's a person, and make it a competition. Hey, they're looking at this other organization, they have a choice. And
Yeah.
so why would they want to choose us? And so they kind of looked at that as, we're going to compete to get that player here, because we want her to be our teammate.
Yeah.
So I think just them taking pride in the whole process of it,
Mhm.
and then really building that chemistry, like everybody is important. So
Mhm.
if there is someone coming to visit, everybody's involved in it, not just the top players, not just the ones that score the most points, or not just the head coach, assistant coaches, manager. We want everybody to be involved, because we want that family, that feeling of family and
Mhm.
community. And that helps to build that chemistry. That's part of that. And the communication, again, super important in terms of what the desired outcome is of that visit, and how they want people to feel. And we just want it to be genuine. And I think it's genuine when they feel genuineness from the coach, from the person at the top. So they're going to pass that down to the new folks coming in. If it's new freshmen that are coming onto college campus, if it's a rookie at the pro level,
Mhm.
I think that starts at the top with the communication of the vision and where we're trying to go, and that person's going to help us get there.
So it's really anchored in purpose. As long as we know our purpose and we're really part of the purpose, it's that beauty of playing a small role in something bigger than ourselves, and feeling like we're needed, and that we know what we're here for. And it's interesting in sport, because when we bring in recruits, we already have people on those teams, and so it could be somebody that is a competitor to the position. And the great part about really being competitively great for yourself and for the program that you serve and support is that you're there to elevate the team. And everything that you do is about elevating the team. And you being really competitive and bringing in somebody who's competing for the same position, it's always making the team better. And this is some new thinking. This gets a little tricky whenever it's all about, I'm looking out for me as an individual, and then I'm forced to really be for my teammates. So let's talk about how we go from that me, we component to build just a championship team.
That is the key. I really believe that that is the key, because when you're speaking about recruiting, and I have been in situations where you bring recruits in, and the first thing that a current player might say is, well, what does that mean for me? Or they feel
Okay.
threatened, or they feel like that's going to take away from what I have. And so that's that me type mentality. How's it going to affect me? And then trying to get that to transition to how will it affect us is the key. And I think and all the teams that I've been able to be a part of, been blessed to be a part of, that have won championships or competed for championships, that is the the huge theme, is that they are really concerned about their teammates, what they're going to bring to the table, the new people that are coming in, what they can bring to the table. They're competitive because they want to be the best, so they want the best. And I think that's really messaging. I think it's important for the head coach at that point, or whomever it is that's in charge of the messaging to players, that, hey, here's what, again, always telling them their value and what they bring to the table, but sending that message of, we're building a champion. And I think the messaging has to be super consistent and very concise, that they're hearing that message all the time. And when these people are brought in, this is part of what we've been talking about all along. This is how we're going to be a champion. This is how we're going to hang championship banners in the arena, how we're going to get rings, all those things. And I think when they look at other championship programs, they see, and reminding them, especially young players, when you look at team A, B, and C that are in the top 10 in the country and always competing for championships, they're very deep. They have a deep bench. They bring one player in, there's no let up. And so that's where we're going, and constantly putting that in front of them, like, here's where we're going to get to. Here's where we're going. Because really, it's hard for anybody to play in basketball 40 minutes, or in track and field to run every event, or score all the points, or, you know what I mean? So I think that it's important to just really, the messaging that we give to players and to the people in our organization is super important.
Yeah, we need each other. I mean, what a great winning strategy to just know that we're needed. Joy, you did a beautiful job of just that vision casting. I mean, that is so powerful that whoever, whether we're working for a company, a family, whoever we're talking about, whatever role we're playing in our life, knowing that vision and being able just to share it, articulate it, live it, give it, be for it, and know that really you're being competitively great for the vision, and you're playing a role in it. And our roles can change, right? One time we may come in and we may be the star, and then we may transition into a different role, and always knowing that we are included, that we belong, that we have value, that there's a purpose for us. So many times, if that isn't articulated to us and we're just subbed out, and it's like, we don't need you anymore, the feeling, this is a human to human connection, right? My heart is, as much as I'm a competitor, I mean, I want to be in there. I want to be the starter. I want to be that champion go-to person. And I'm going to have to wrestle with the me, we component, because it's a big deal to really surrender self and give, to be just part of a team. So Joy, thank you for this conversation. And team, what a challenge you have this week to really think about starting with yourself and your programs. Do you have that me, we component? Are you clear on your vision? Does everybody feel like they're included? They have purpose and value? And how are you coaching and training so that everybody's getting better every week or every day when they're entering into whatever time they have with you? So thank you, Joy, for this moment in time to share being on the journey with you.
Thank you, Carlette.
Okay, team, go out, have a 10-week, be a champion for you, for your team, for your vision, for the mission that you're on. And thank you for joining us.